From WisPolitics in Madison, you're listening to Capital Chats.
Hello, everybody. This is Kate Morton with WisPolitics, here with the Capital Chats podcast brought to you by Spectrum. Today, I'm here to share an interview with Representative Francesca Hong. She is a Democratic socialist who caucuses with Democrats, and she is running for governor. We talked a little bit about her campaign and her priorities, and we also talked a little bit about what it means to be a Democratic socialist. Here's what she had to say. All right, thank you, Representative, for joining me on Capital Chats today. I think to get us started off, so you're running for governor. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your campaign? So why are you running?
We're in a moment that requires a movement where people are demanding pretty transformative change and not going back to the status quo. My community sent me to the legislature back in 2020, which was a moment of crisis and chaos. And we're in a moment like that again. And so, as a single mom that was a small business owner, someone who's working multiple jobs now as a renter, who, really believes in uplifting and working for working class folks with policies that are bold and universal. I think this is the type of leadership and fighter that folks are looking for. And so this is this is why I want to run for governor, to be a leader that reflects a lot of that reflects the values and will work for Wisconsinites as hard as Wisconsinites are working now.
Yeah, could you talk a little bit about your background and how you came to public office?
Absolutely. So I am a hospitality worker. I love being in restaurants. Worked my way up from being a line cook and dishwasher to running a restaurant and owning a restaurant for the last 7 years. Um, I've been a community organizer, making sure that folks who are underrepresented in the restaurant industry, a lot of the folks who work in the industry are some of the most vulnerable in our society. And so organizing and making sure that folks see us is very important to me. And so those lived experiences I try to bring to every space that I'm in the legislature. And I fight for policies that uplift everyone, especially when it comes to the care economy. So I think the community back in 2020, much like now, we're ready for a different type of leadership, representation that brings those lived experiences and was still, I had the restaurant, I was still working as a dishwasher, line cook, and small business owners, they wear so many hats, from being HR to making sure they know every position of what they are doing. And so I think that propelled me into the legislature again in a time of crisis and chaos. I know I always go back to that, but
Mm.
it is what can bring about change.
Yeah, so what would your biggest priorities be as governor? What are the things that you want to be able to change?
Universal childcare and fully funding our public schools, doing right by our children. I'm very proud to have authored the Healthy School Meals for All, ensuring that every kid, regardless of school, has a free breakfast and lunch. We are in a housing crisis, and we have to look at a multifaceted effort to ensure renters are protected, that homeownership is accessible, and that we are making it easier to build housing. The care economy also includes paid leave for all and ensuring that care workers, caregivers have fair wages and good working conditions. We're an aging state, and long-term care, elder care, care for disability, folks in the disability community, I think often we don't prioritize it enough. And then it's about looking at ways to support small businesses as well. So our children, our workers, our small businesses, and ourselves, that care and policies that are going to ensure everyone in Wisconsin has their needs met, are is part of the agenda that I plan to implement as governor.
Yeah, so you're looking to succeed Governor Tony Evers. Are there any issues in particular that you would handle differently than he has during his time in office?
Well, we're fighting for the Democratic trifecta. I think we have a real opportunity to flip the Senate and the Assembly to a Democratic majority. And I think it's going to be critical to work collaboratively with the legislature and the executive branch to make sure that the expectations for a budget and legislation that moves forward is the most progressive and meets the urgency of this moment when people are struggling to afford where they live, and cost of living is getting more and more higher, and people are working multiple jobs and barely making ends meet. And so I think that collaboration, that the the pressure and expectations to make sure folks are putting universal working class policies at the forefront is how I plan to lead.
Okay. I also want to talk about, you're a member of the Democratic Socialist Caucus, and you've said you're going to be a wild card in this race. So I'm wondering, what does being a Democratic Socialist mean to you?
People in Wisconsin care deeply about democracy, and this is about ensuring there's an economy where we extend democracy into it. And so ensuring there is access to basic needs, and basic needs are being met: housing, food, healthcare, and education. This is about putting working class people first and having an economy that works for them and doesn't capitulate and doesn't prioritize the wealthiest few and those in power who are taking advantage of our economy.
Yeah, so as a Democratic Socialist, you still caucus with Democrats and everything, but is there anything that maybe differentiates you from other Democrats in the race?
This is about being bold and relentless about these universal policies that are going to meet the needs of working class people in Wisconsin. And I think that our ability to, being both a Democrat and a Democratic Socialist, I have an opportunity to meet voters who may have sat out in 2024, who are, very disengaged and not satisfied with the status quo of how we do politics. And we're already seeing that in our campaign. A very strong digital program has allowed us to reach so many folks across the state, and it's multi-generational, multiracial, multi-ethnic. And I think they're ready for young, bold, relentless leadership where a working class person now is representing working class people.
Yeah, I want to ask you also about the mayor-elect in New York, Zohran Mamdani, fellow Democratic Socialist. What do you think his victory means in this moment?
It means that working class people are coming together to demand change and reject an authoritarian regime in the federal government. One of the ways that we can really protect our communities and fight back is to invest in local government and policies at the local and state level that will ensure folks have economic security and can afford to live with dignity. And so those people came together to elect a new type of leadership, and one that is going to build a broader coalition and center affordability and speak clearly to, free childcare, freezing the rent, ensuring again that people's basic needs are met and people can live with dignity.
Yeah, I'm wondering what do you think his victory could mean for your candidacy? Does it make you hopeful? I guess what are your thoughts on it overall?
I am incredibly encouraged and feeling a newfound sense of hope that here in Wisconsin, this is going to encourage people to be bold themselves, to get involved in campaigns. We're really fortunate, and this is one of the proudest things I think. One of the things I'm most proud of with our campaign is people who are telling us they've never been involved with a campaign. It's exciting to be excited for a candidate, and to see educators, moms, single moms, workers all across the state wanting to be a part of the change to have a government that prioritizes working class people first, and not the billionaire and ultra rich. I think that message was clear with the mayor-elect in New York, and it's it's a time. It's how we need to meet this moment. And I think what we're building with this campaign is a grassroots powered campaign that uh, is ready to meet that movement.
Yeah, I guess before we wrap it up, is there anything else that you want Wisconsinites to know about your platform or your campaign as you're going through this process?
We have, and I've been really fortunate to have traveled across the state, whether it's helping candidates or being able to meet folks as a small business owner and a restaurant worker and the first Asian American, where people were curious about this legislator from Madison. And I wanted to make sure I wasn't defined by being the Madison legislator. And we've been traveling extensively, aggressively in this campaign, and rural, suburban, urban, the Northwest to the Northeast, and parts like, towns like Blanchardville and Ripon. Folks are showing up from who have different political ideologies. I talk about the socialist from Blackburn, Wisconsin, and the 18-year-old independent from Sheboygan who met us in Ripon for a meet and greet. Um, Two young women who had seen me on TikTok and traveled to Eau Claire on a Sunday morning to ask me some pretty, hard-hitting questions about policy. And so it's a small subset, but it's encouraging to see that there's a multi-generational group of Wisconsinites who want to know right now who, like, to tell me, are meeting me to tell me what they want to see in their next governor. And I think that our movement is only going to grow. I'm going to say that humble working class single mom who is still bartending and line cooking where I can. And so I think it's important for people to know that building a quote unquote big tent has to be about radically welcoming people who may not have voted like I did in 2024, people who are wanting to sit out and don't know if their votes matter. And these are the people who are coming out to support or at least being curious about our campaign. And we need that curiosity and that sense of uh, believing in change. That's what's powering our campaign, and we're only going to grow that movement.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us on the podcast. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Kate. Please take care.
Right, everyone, thank you for tuning in. If you would like to learn more about the governor's race in Wisconsin, you can head to our website at wispolitics.com. In the meantime, I'm Kate Morton. Thanks for tuning in to WisPolitics Capital Chats, brought to you by Spectrum.